Justice has no rules, children die too. Innocence get taken by the lost and ignorant. A cancer to the world and the hood's malignant. Police won't save you, family won't save you. Neither will a ball or a record label. I'm saying there's a war going on outside. Not for race, not for money, not for color, but control of the mind. There's a war going on outside. People dying every day, people scared and there's nowhere to hide. What's going on, everybody? This is Dynasty, the Alias, coming to y'all live in effect. Another vlog. This is going into episode 11. This one is going to be a little bit more of a special video log. What I want to talk about today is something that a lot of us are kind of scared to do, or a lot of us who consider ourselves to be more of the awake community. We do our parts in however we can, whether it be expressing it through music or video blogging like what I'm doing now, or actually getting out into the street, or some of us do all of it. But today is going to be another segment of my contribution, and in doing so, it's going to be discussing the black condition. So, the black condition is jacked up. Let me just put it out there. We have a bunch of issues as a community, as a people, as a denomination. First off is that we just can't seem to get it together when it comes down to finances, when it comes down to relationships, when it comes down to how to raise our children, how to maintain our communities. We seem to have a really big problem with that. It's just like they say. When I grew up, there was a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. But when you look at our communities and you look at how our children are coming up, who's raising our children? If it takes a village to raise our child and your child turns out to be a thug, who's directly in control of that? Whatever. I'm going to break it down to you a little bit differently than that. So what happens is the fact that when we discussing the black condition, we have to look at all the aspects. We have to look at it from a religious standpoint. We have to look at it from a monetary standpoint. We have to look at it from all different spectrums that it can be taken into consideration. Like, number one, I'm going, rest in peace to Trayvon Martin. Let me put that out there first and foremost, because I know it's still fresh in a lot of people's heads. And my personal feelings is that the boy didn't have to die and things didn't have to go down the way they went down. And, I've already touched on that. But we will get pissed off at George Zimmerman because of his race, denomination, because of the color of his skin and what he's doing. But then our people are doing it to our people and have been doing it to our people for years, decades. Why are we not in an uproar about the gang conditions in Chicago, Detroit, New York, California, Atlanta, Houston? Why are we not upset about what we're doing to ourselves to the extent that we would get mad at somebody who is not us? And the thing about it is that whether he got off or, whether George Zimmerman had, whether he got off or whether he got life or whatever the penalty would have been for the second-degree murder. What matters to me is the fact that we can come together as a unified force only when we have this skewed, misconstrued principle about the fact that somebody outside our community did something to one of ours. We compared it to Emmett Till. We compared it to the Michael Vick situation with him and the dogs, and just a bunch of stuff that I just thought that was just ridiculous. I couldn't believe that we could go so far into digging up and researching all this stuff, yet someone is getting murdered every day in our communities, and we just it's common, and that's the problem. It's common to us. It's commonplace for bad stuff to happen. It's commonplace for us to be poor. It's commonplace for us to live in destitute situations, for us to hustle and bustle just to get by. God, When I put this together, I had a whole uniform as far as how I wanted to break down key points and key points. But you know what? I can't do it that way. What happens is the fact that me being a brother who has dedicated his life through hip hop to try to improve the conditions of his people, I see things from the Afro American, or just let's start right there. Afro American. Stop calling yourself African American. This is my opinion. It's up for debate. If anybody is interested in debating it, that's whatever. I'm down for it. But this is my personal feelings. Africa was not a country. If you look at other denominations, Italian American, Spanish American, Mexican American, whatever their national country of origin was, their offsprings who are born here in the States are just American. And we as an entire people, not just the black denomination, but us as an entire country, need to snap out of trying to throw everything inside of a box. And, oh, that person is white and that person is black. Because only in times of national tragedy are we Americans together. Only when somebody outside or when there's a issue of national security can we possibly be Americans together. But then once that passes, or once it's no longer in the news, it's back to the niggas and back to the crackers and back to the spics, and it's back to all the blanket closet racist crap. And the thing is, black people, we are probably the most racist of anybody. We suspect that white people have some ulterior agenda. Whether that may be true, whether that may not, regardless of what happens, 9 times out of 10, we're making it very easy for them. Look at our conditions as far as how our values for spending money and how our values for saving money and how our values for reinvesting money. Look at our values for education. For instance, the poverty rate of the African American is 28.1 as of the U.S. Census Bureau 2011. 28.1% of African Americans live below the poverty line. Now, some people may look at, okay, well, 28% is not majority of blacks are living below the poverty line. We're still talking about 28% of blacks. We only make up roughly 13.5% of the population. Our numbers are decreasing. So when you tell me that 28% of 13% of the country is in poverty, that's huge to me. So when you do the math, if we say that there were 1 million blacks, and that's representative of that 13%, you're telling me that 281,000 of them are in poverty? That's a huge chunk. That's more than a quarter of black people are in poverty. Now let me ask you a question. When you consider helping somebody of, your skin folk or whatever, or your family or whomever it is that you help them, what is it that you consider help? I consider help to be, I offer you assistance so that you don't need my assistance anymore. For instance, you need help getting to a job interview. I'll take you to the job interview so now that you can go to work, make your money, get your own car so I never have to drive you someplace again. That's what I call help. When I lend you money because you decided to do something irresponsible with your money and now you need somebody to bail you out of a bad situation, well, that's not helping you. That's enabling you to continue to make irresponsible, irrational decisions with your life. And we need to really sit back and look at what it is that we consider help. Look at these words and these cliches and these things that we hold our life by. Black people, we have stupid principles. We have the world's dumbest principles, and we hold them near and dear to our heart. He stole $20 from me. Well, I'm gonna whoop his ass because he stole $20 from me. Man, it's just $20. It's the principle for why I had to whoop his ass, because he stole from me. Well, guess what? You got stole from your land hundreds of years ago. I ain't see nobody get mad then. Why are we not fired up the right way about these type of things? We want to blame the white man because of the fact that the African man of the country of origin assisted with selling us over to the United States. I personally think that people are too bent off of history. Some of us are too involved in trying to figure out where we came from and what our religion originally was, and we were kings and queens and all this other stuff. That's nice if you want to tell your kids a good story, but where we are currently, we need to build from where we are. One of the biggest problems of the African American community is that we cannot come together for anything. We will not support each other for anything. And the problem is, one of the biggest problems is that if we see somebody, we'll be quick to give our money to somebody who looks like they already have money before we try to invest in one of our own. Like you see a young brother that's rapping and he's trying to hustle up money to put forth his rap career. We'll tell him, oh, that's nice, keep it up. You'll be there when, when the time is right. But when you take a dime out of your pocket and say, man, here's my contribution because I believe in what it is that you do, not a chance in hell. And no, I'm not making this saying all black people, because I know there'll be black people sitting back talking about, oh, that's not me, I don't act like that. First off, black people, fucking liars. Not all of us, but a lot of us are fucking liars. Let's just be all the way straight about it. We will convince ourselves all of this stuff that we're the most honest, the most truthful, the most down to earth, the most sensitive, most kind-hearted, most giving people in the world. But then we'll reluctantly not think about how we cut somebody down, or how we badmouth somebody, or how we walked past a homeless man who was in need, or how we did something that was probably immoral or unjust, or just because we were in a bad mood that day. We don't take time to think about that. We don't take time to think about the relationships that we destroyed. We only think about how other people treat us. And we think about how we see ourselves, but 9 times out of 10, how we see ourselves is not exactly how we are. Which brings me to another interesting point, the hater segment. Haters. I don't know what a hater is. If somebody does not like what you do, or how you dress, or how you act, they are entitled to not like it because it is not them. So therefore, you don't have to label somebody a hater because they don't like something that you do. 9 times out of 10, an idea of what the average person considers a hater is somebody who tells them the truth about how they feel about what it is that they're doing. Really, what a hater is, in real definition, let me help you out. A hater is the person that's standing right there next to you, every step of the way while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. They're congratulating you. They're all the way happy about what it is that you're doing until you start doing better than them. Then that's when they start throwing salt on your name, start pouring all types of bad stuff out in the atmosphere, putting out all your personal business. That is a hater. No different than a snitch, somebody who was right there at the time that took what they had or what knowledge base they had about you and they put it out there in the street because they did not like either the fact that you got away or the fact that you're more successful. These things coincide one and the same. Now understand something. I don't mean to bash on people, especially those who are trying to do right, because of the fact that as a community, I need for everybody to understand that we are one community. When I think about my hometown of Chicago, when I think about neighborhoods that I've been in, Inglewood, South Shore, Auburn, Gresham, Lawndale, West Lawndale, Humboldt, Logan Square. I think about these rough neighborhoods where the human life condition is just awful. to where I go stand on the red line platform or the green line platform, and I'm likely to get mugged, or a set of teenagers that try to run up on you and hit you, rob you, or just because they're bored, they don't have anything to do. You tear down the rims, and rec centers are far and in between, and the human condition is just bad. These kids have nothing to do. Arts programs are stripped from the school due to budget cutbacks, and it's a double-edged sword because of the fact that we will want to get mad at the Board of Education and say, okay, well, why is it that these neighborhoods over on this side can get this, where they pay higher tax dollars? So therefore, their argument is valid because of the fact that maybe you should try as a family, as a community, to increase the human condition in your neighborhood, bring up the property value, start trying to make more money, and educating yourself, educating your children on the growing vast economy and technology and everything else that is starting to make money and starting to boom, rather than being capsized on what it is that we do. If you ask me, the black man's cop-out is to entertain people. Basketball, we'll just say sports and entertainment. That's the black man's cop-out. The black woman's cop-out, some form of educator or a nurse. These are generally, for the people who don't know what to do, this is where they go. So every guy thinks that he can write rhymes. I too am an MC. That's not all that I do. But again, this is just what happens. Hip-hop and most music genres started in the hood. So those of us that are from the hood, we take something that was for us and we put it back out in the atmosphere. But a lot of us are lost because of the fact that our only dreams and aspirations, first off, our role models are jacked up. Our role models are entertainers. Our role models are not our fathers, our grandfathers, our mothers, our uncles, successful black-owned business people in the neighborhood, successful, black politicians who come and bring about change, successful black police officers or firefighters. Our heroes are people that we see on TV that have no idea that we exist. I remember talking to a guy one day, and he told me that Diddy was his role model. And he says that I buy Ciroc, I buy Sean John, everything, so I can feel like I'm closer to Diddy. I'm like, you mean to tell me that you go out and you spend all of your money, all that you earn doing other stuff, to invest into making Diddy a richer man, and somehow this is making you feel like you're closer to him? Our way of thinking is terrible. It's terrible. That's like me saying that, hey, I like the way that Jay-Z does business, so every year I'm going to go out and buy every album that he put out so I can feel like I'm closer to him. Like, that's just moronic thinking. And along with more moronic thinking, swag. I've been bashing swag since it started becoming a popular thing. But then it's like, it's amazing how corporate America can take a word, put it into your favorite rapper's mouth, and turn it into a whole trend so they can sell you products and services pertaining to something that doesn't even exist. I see Nike shirts with something about my swag on it, and I see all these other knockoff shirts that people get from the beauty supply or Marshalls or whatever that are discussing swag and how somebody's swag is so this and swag is so that. And people are making millions of dollars off the fact that people have no mind. People, swag does not exist. It doesn't. And whether anybody wants to sit back and debate me or dispute what I feel, by all means, YouTube comment box, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, anytime, please, by all means. I need people to wake up. We go out and we go to the club. And when we go to the club, we feel empowered because we're out, we're free, the music makes us feel good, and don't realize the corporate strategy behind it all. Commercial music, commercial singles playing loud at a club. We dance, we sweat, we pay our admission fee, whether it's $10, whatever, ladies free until whatever time. We buy drinks, we get nice and drunk. When we nice and drunk, we want to spend more money, we want to hang out more, we just have a great time. Before we know it, we pissed away $100-$200 outside. None of that came back to us. So we make the club owners rich, we make the liquor companies rich, we make the clothing companies rich who put together our outfits for the night. Women, makeup, hair, weave, men, haircuts, you name it. Everybody else made money off of that decision except you. The DJ made money. Everybody got a piece of that money except you. That goes back to my investment portion about what our views are as far as how we invest our money. I had women several times tell me, we go get our hair straightened and we buy this weave and this makeup because we have to look a certain way to be accepted in corporate America. And I sat back and I thought about it and I meditated on it. And somehow it just sounded stupid, but I couldn't put my thought together at that time to explain to that young lady why. But if you're watching, this is my response to this. Even though it's late, this is my response to that. If there were more people concerned with owning business than trying to go and work for somebody, we could change the status quo. Meaning there was a chunk of Wall Street that was owned by the black community. You can go to work, You can go to work at your company and you could make it not be such a vast requirement for men and women to have to be groomed according to some corporate standard because you set the corporate standard. So if you know the condition of how black women and black men's hair is, you can be more sensitive to that and you can change the view of corporate structure or the way that corporate eyes see it. But when you have other people creating status quo for you, you're just falling in line. And that's the problem when there's not enough black-owned business. You have to play by somebody else's rules. And that's why everybody fails. We have great ideas, but we fail. And that segues me into another point. Black men, black women. When it comes into relationships, I'm married. My wife and I, beautiful daughter, we have our ups and downs, our battles about certain things. And one of the things that we always get into as far as hair, makeup, stuff like that. I personally don't like my wife wearing hair weave. And somebody will sit back and say, oh, well, if Beyonce or somebody else was wearing hair weave, I'm like, I'm not laying at home with Beyonce. So it doesn't matter what she looks like because the person I'm laying next to, I want her all natural. That's who I'm with. I didn't chase after Beyonce. I didn't live a pipe dream thinking one day I was going to go and mess with her or some video model. I knew the quality of the woman that I wanted and I got it. So, with that much being said, I know a lot of guys who will sit back and will tell our woman how we want her to look. That, oh, baby, you should dress this way. It's sexy. Or you should do XYZ because it looks better. You should put XYZ together because it really brings out this part of you, so forth and etc. We'll be really quick to make suggestions. And what happens is that reluctantly we don't tell our woman enough about how beautiful she is in her natural form. And when we tell women and beat them down over and over again with our ideals, what we do is that we crush their spirits because of the fact that we tell them without telling them that we don't appreciate them as the natural Nubian queens that they are. We want to make them look more like status quo. So therefore, status quo is to make you have more Caucasian-like features, the higher cheekbones and the the blushes and the straightened hair and the red lipsticks and all that stuff. It was originally set up to make you look more acceptable based on status quo because you looked closer to the white standard, and that's what makes you okay. Now, we grow up believing in certain superficial things. And what happens is the fact that we're not taught by anybody to appreciate the superficial things as entertainment purpose only. But a true woman's beauty comes from within, not what you see on the outside. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to help people. Men, instead of beating your woman down with whatever it is that you feel as far as her appearance is concerned, don't give suggestions. Spend more time explaining to her how beautiful she is as her than you spend trying to explain to her how much more beautiful she would be if she looked like something else. You'll get a lot farther with that. A lot more respect comes from that. That's being a man. By learning to make your woman feel good how she is. And then training yourself to appreciate your woman for how she is. When it comes down to the women, on the other hand, women, look, I got a lot. I could do a whole other segment just on relationships alone, but women, I don't know what the hell y'all doing. It's like the most epic thing that I've ever heard a black man say about the reason why he does not want to date sisters, or why he doesn't want to be bothered with the black women beyond the point that he has, is generally because of the fact that he says that you guys talk too much. Your mouth is just going a mile a minute. And the thing is that I don't necessarily agree that that is always a bad thing, but you have to learn how to reshape what it is that you say to a man, because you can be very crippling and belittling because of the fact that the Bible says that you are our you are our support system. So if our support system is always beating us down and you're the closest person to us, then how do you think we're going to perceive the world and how the world perceives us, especially when we're at our most vulnerable points? Our women are who keep us strong. And if our women are the main ones that are giving us the rhetoric about how we are not sufficient in what we're doing, and oh, you need to get a better job, and you're doing this, that, and the third, and we're constantly making accusations. You would need to make less accusations if you stop chasing losers. I agree with this. And many people can debate it again, like I've been saying the whole video. YouTube comments, Facebook, Twitter, find me. I'll debate it any second of the day. But women invest a lot of time into fantasy guy, Prince Charming. It doesn't matter what shape or form Prince Charming comes. Depending on where you're from and what you've been exposed to, Prince Charming could be somebody who's going to come and take care of you financially and pay all the bills and put you in a nice big house, and he's going to cater to you hand and foot, and stuff like that, to where you just don't have to do anything except wake up every day and look pretty for him. Or you have the Lil Wayne dreadhead, kind of thuggish, hustler type. Prince Charming comes in all different varieties. And the thing about it is the fact that it's all a fantasy. What we see on TV, whether it be the video girl for men, or whether it be the rapper or entertainer or ball player for women, or whatever it is that you're exposed to, whether it's the dude on the block or whether it's the girl from school or whatever it is, it's all superficial. We don't teach ourselves, let alone our people, to value the content of a person's character. Everything is based on looks. If a person does not look a certain type of way, as kids, we cut each other down. We talk crazy to each other. We just do not build each other up. We just have a real bad habit. And the thing is the fact that black people, we hate ourselves. We hate ourselves. From the time that a black woman is exposed to makeup and weave and wigs, every time that she looks in the mirror at her own natural self, she feels less and less significant because of the fact that this is status quo that you go and buy from a beauty supply store. And this is what I actually look like. And every time that you're exposed to a new figment of fashion or a new figment of status quo in any rate that does not resemble what you look like in a natural form, of course it's going to beat you down. And whether a woman ever wants to actually admit it or not, it does. It starts off from a little girl and it grows, and that self-consciousness grows and it grows and it grows until now I have this self-conscious belief of myself. So everything that you've been raised to believe is a lie. The black community, we spend more time with TV than we probably spend with our parents. I know somebody somewhere saying, well, white people do this and Spanish people do this. And no, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking specifically to my African descended people. This is specifically for y'all. We have plenty of time for them. They have their own issues and their own lives, and I want to talk to y'all.